Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, March 7th, 2018.
Commissioner Garcia, Repenning, James, and Jacinto are present. President James, we do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Chris Enriquez, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Mahesh Pujari from
Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Seffi Wiles, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Brad Jensen, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We did receive a speaker card on item number 2 for today's agenda.
Okay, we'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2018? By Commissioner Penning. Any objection? Without objection, we'll approve those meeting minutes. Agenda item number 1, bids for the Soto Street Bridge over Valley Boulevard and Union Pacific Railroad federal project. The estimate's $11,945,664. Dr. Campos on number 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, opening up the bids again for the Soto Street Bridge over Valley Boulevard. This is in Council District 1 and 14. The city has estimated this project to be at $11,945,664. Let me say that again, $11,945,664. We did receive 10 bids today. The first bid is from John S. Meek Company Incorporated for a total bid amount of $13,686,715 even. That's 13686,715 from John S. Meek Company Incorporated. The second bid received for this project is from Shimmick, SHIMMICK Construction Company Incorporated, for a total bid amount of $12,980,224 even. That's 12980,224 from Shimmick Construction Company Incorporated. The third bid received is from Los Angeles Engineering Incorporated for a total bid amount of $12,666,770 even. That's 12666,770 from Los Angeles Engineering Incorporated. For the record, line item number 16 has been lined out by the contractor and it has been initialed. The fourth bid received for this project is from USS Cal Builders Incorporated for a total bid amount of $13,261,304.20. That's 13261,304.20 from USS Cal Builders Incorporated. For the record, line item number 12, line item number 51, line item 71, and also line item 89 have been lined out and all have been initialed by the contractor. The fifth bid is from Reyes Construction Incorporated for a total bid amount of $13,196,243 even. That's 13196,243 from Reyes Construction Incorporated. For the record, line item number 12, line item number 22, line item 23, 53 have been lined out by the contractor and initialed. The sixth bid received for this project is from Pulis Construction Incorporated, that's Pulice Construction Incorporated, for a total bid amount of $12,606,327.65. That's 12606,327.65 from Pulis Construction Incorporated. The seventh bid received for this project is from Griffith Company for a total bid amount of $12,982,215 even. That's 12982,215 from Griffith Company. For the record, line item 62, line item 89, and line item 56 have been lined out by the contractor, and all three lines have been initialed. The eighth bid received for this project is from OHL USA Incorporated, doing business as Group OHL USA Incorporated, for a total bid amount of $13,981,642 even. That's 13981,642 from OHL USA Incorporated. For the record, line item number 12, line item number 13, line item 50, and line item 77 and line item 88 have been lined out by the contractor, and all lines have been initialed. The ninth bid received for this project is from Ortiz Enterprises Incorporated. Let me say that again, Ortiz Enterprises Incorporated, for a total bid amount of $12,837,525 even. That's 12837,525 from Ortiz Enterprises Incorporated. The 10th and final bid received for this project is from Steve B. Rados Incorporated. That's RADOS. For a total bid amount of $12,148,919.25. That's 12148,919.25 from Steve P. Rados Incorporated. For the record, line item number 35, line item 60 has been initialed by the contractor, and both lines have been initialed. President James, that concludes the bid openings for today's agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second to my motion that we recognize that the bids have been opened, declared, and received forthwith by Commissioner Cento? Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Thank you both. Agenda item number 2, Council District number 5, tree removal, 10034 West Wanda Drive. Recommending that the board first find that the project is categorically exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 3, Category 1 of the City's Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and there is no substantial evidence the proposed project will have a significant effect on the environment and is in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. Number 2, find that none of the exceptions to the use of categorical exemptions as set forth in 15300.2 of the state CEQA guidelines apply. Number 3, specify that the Bureau of Street Services, Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And number 4, review and approve the request for a fee permit to remove 3 coast live oak tree and 6 California black walnut stumps, and tree replacements are required. So, Mr. Tyson, 3 trees and 6 stumps, correct?
That is correct. President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representative, City Attorney, and the Executive Officer. Carla Shahan, property owner, is proposing to construct a single-family two-story residence with a basement at 10034 West Wanda Drive. The proposed home will have a footprint, ground floor footprint, of approximately 1,500 square feet, and the entire home will have 3,238 square feet on a vacant lot measuring approximately 4,009 square feet. The lot has moderate to steep topography with downward slopes as much as a 1-to-1 ratio. The proposed project will include major excavation and grading in order to construct the residence. Armin McCollian's owner's representative contacted the Bureau regarding construction, and in response to his inquiry, Mr. McCollian was directed to obtain services of a Los Angeles Municipal Code-defined tree expert to evaluate the subject trees and the impacts. Armin acquired the services of Mr. Jan C. Scow, registered consulting arborist, to provide an assessment of the property and to address the project's impact to protected trees. Mr. Scow's site assessment revealed a total of 7 protected trees on the subject property, including 6 old walnut stumps from previously removed at some time, we don't know when. Mr. Scow determined that 3 of the 7 remaining protected trees on the property are located in and directly adjacent to the building footprint and will be severely impacted and require removal. The trees identified for removal are trees numbered 4, 8, and 10 Coast Live Oak. The 3 oak trees identified for removal measure approximately 11 to 20 inches in cumulative diameter by approximately 15 to 45 feet in height and are in fair health. The subject trees will require removal for construction of the new residence. Therefore, Jan Scow recommends that the 3 subject trees and the black walnut stubs be removed. The remaining 4 protected trees will be minimally impacted and are to be preserved in place during the course of the construction, and protective fencing has been installed. A Bureau arborist inspected the location on January 8, 2018. The arborist agrees with Jan C. Scow's tree assessment and recommendation that the removal of the 3 subject protected trees and the 6 Southern California black walnut stumps will be required. Joan Pellico, District Director, 5th Council District, was informed of the tree removal request on January 11, 2018. The applicant shall plant 12 24-inch box-sized Coast Live oak trees on site to replace the removed trees. The survival of the tree replacement shall be guaranteed for a period of 3 years by bond. Upon issuance of the protected tree removal permit, if granted, the Bureau shall be notified a minimum of 10 days prior to the day the protected tree removals shall occur. The applicant's tree expert shall be on site the day of the tree removals to ensure the proper trees are removed. A Bureau arborist will arrange an on-site meeting with the applicant or their tree expert the day following the protected tree removals. And the applicant, in conjunction with the project's landscape architect or tree expert, shall be responsible to ensure the tree removal permit tree replacement conditions are in compliance. Replacement tree planting shall follow the landscape plan to the fullest extent possible. The Bureau shall be notified no later than 5 days after the completion of the tree replacements. A Bureau arborist will make arrangements to visit the site and approve the tree replacements as being in compliance with the permit conditions within 5 working days of the notification of the planting completion. Also, I have given the executive officer a notarized letter that is a statement of the fact that the stumps were there when the property was purchased.
That the stumps were there when the property was purchased?
That's correct.
Okay, so logical conclusion from that the current owner did not chop the trees.
That's correct,
That resulted in
President.
the stumps. Okay.
Yes.
Just a summary again, Mr. Tyson. You have a 4-to-1 replacement on the protected trees
That's correct.
on site.
On site.
Okay. And again, just for the record, any replacement requirement for the stumps?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Tyson before we go to the speakers? Thank you, sir. Hollis Leach?
Hello, good morning. My name is Hollis Leach. I'm a resident. I live at 10,000 Reevesbury, which is an adjoining street to West Wanda. We can only pass down West Wanda to get to Benedict Canyon to exit. Our little hamlet neighborhood, which is comprised of approximately 90 homes. I have with me 8 letters from neighbors. We just learned of this last night at about 10 p.m., so that's what we could bring together this morning. But I have the request from dozens of neighbors who strongly oppose these trees being removed. I have a photograph of the site that I could show any of you that I took this morning on my way here. The fact that a 3,000 square foot home could be considered on this topography in the first place is hard for me to imagine, but I'm here specifically to talk about the trees and the importance of the trees and the ecosystem of our Benedict Canyon area. We have owls living there. We have protected owls. There's a bird preserve that is directly adjacent to this property, and a whole group of ecosystem elements that are very important to our Benedict Canyon neighborhood. And so we very, very, very strongly oppose having these protected trees removed. The remark that the walnut trees were removed by a previous owner, I have pictures when that was taken. We could look and see when those dates were. I'm sure that's true. It was a previous owner. They did it illegally. They're destroying the area, and this will further damage. When they talk about a 4-to-1 replacement, it's impossible to imagine where those 4 trees to 1 are going to be growing, because you're talking about building a 3,000 square foot house on a 4,900 square foot footprint that is a vertical space. They're cutting all of the trees, essentially, on this property. This entire corner of Stowell and West Wanda will be obliterated with this outsider's interest in just making, essentially, a spec house for money. So we have dozens of neighbors. We can mobilize more strongly if we can table this, if it's not rejected altogether today. Thank you for your time.
I'm sorry, Roger Schlesinger?
I have the letter. Should I leave them with...
I'm sorry, Robert Schlesinger, am I spelling? Yeah. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Schlesinger. I am the Planning and Land Use Committee Chairman of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, and I am on the board of the Benedict Canyon Association. This is a wildlife corridor area. It is a low-volume traveled street that is substandard in width. In many areas, there are no curbs at all. The slope on this piece of property is rather steep. I've been up there a number of times. I agree with Hollis about a 4-to-1 ratio of replacing the 6 stumps is not going to make it on that piece of property the way it's laid out. This is part of the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy. It's a part of the wildlife corridor from Griffith Park to the ocean. And the amount of animals that habitat and that are part of this wildlife corridor would definitely be displaced, and we are fighting this every day. So I strongly object to this, and I would like you to consider the fact that something needs to be done about these 3 live oaks not being cut down, and considering the fact that a 4-to-1 ratio will never happen on there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a speaker card from Armin, looks like Melkonians.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the civil engineer for the project. I'm also the husband of the owner, so I play a special role here today. I want to speak a little bit just about the stumps. So we bought the property in September of 2015. Both being civil engineers, we're familiar with the ordinance of cutting down trees. My wife actually worked for Public Works for many years. She worked at the West LA division and also for construction management in City of Los Angeles. So we're completely familiar with it. When we went to do the first thing that we got after September was a notice from the fire department that the brush clearance had not been done. It had been placed on the contractor list to do the brush clearance. So immediately what we did is we did not go out and hire a gardener to do the trimming. We went and hired a landscape contractor, bonded, licensed, legitimate landscape contractor, paid $4,000 to do the brush clearance, which was minimal at that point, just to make sure that the trees were not cut down. When I go back and look at it now, my guess would be that the 6 stumps were actual walnut stumps and not oak stumps. If you look at them, they're all walnut stumps. The previous owner lived up north, was an elderly woman. She ended up having a conservatorship to her son who was taking care of the property. My guess is that the gardeners, during the drought, when it would come to do the brush clearance, cut down those stumps. So I just wanted to speak on that. In terms of spec house, it's not a spec house. We plan on living there. We have a newborn. We just designed this house for herself. She's done the design, my wife. We're going to build it. We're going to live there. We're going to have a family. So it's not a big house. The footprint is actually 1,500 square feet. There's an error on there. That's the total size of the house. So it's got the 1,500 square foot basement and then first floor, second floor as it goes up. It's a small size house. It actually falls under the guaranteed minimum RFA of 1,300 square feet. So I guess that's all I can say about it. I'm available for questions. We would be willing also to do some of the replacement for the stumps as well, even though we didn't cut them, but recognizing that they're protected trees. Some of the stumps aren't even clear that if they would have been appropriate sized for protection, if you look at the diameter at the cut. But we'd be willing to, of course, fit as many trees as we can on the lot behind it. Remember, it's 1,500 square feet, not 4,000 square feet. I mean, it's on a 4,000 square foot lot. So we'd be willing to do as many trees as we can to mitigate the stump cuts that were done previously, as well as potentially, I don't know if this is done anymore, but to provide the fee or to buy the trees for the city. I don't know if they do that anymore. I understand they don't, but we'd be willing to do that also for the stumps, recognizing that protected trees are important. I can be honest, I haven't been out there. I don't live there because it's a vacant lot, but every time that I've gone out there, I haven't seen wild animals. I haven't seen a corridor. It's one of the only vacant lots still on the street. The street is fully developed. There's an adjacent street right next door. It's a intersection, I forget the Stowell. Stowell has been removed from public use by Public Works, so that's not even a public street. And I'm available to answer any questions if you guys have. Sorry, I got a little nervous, but thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tyson, I'll start with you, and then Commissioner Davis may have some questions. The issue, I think the owner cleared up the issue about the footprint of the home is 1,500 square feet?
That's correct. The footprint of the home, the ground floor is 1,500 square feet. The total size of the home with all the square footage added up, because it's a 2-story with a basement, is actually 3,238 square feet.
Right.
So the footprint's only 1,500 and the lot is 4,009 square feet.
So you get the square footage because you're going up or down rather than around. To my question, is there room on the property for a 4-to-1 tree replacement mitigation?
For the 3 trees removed, here is the plan that shows the 12 trees, 7 of them being planted over here on this side of the property, and the other ones are here in spots where they can fit and back here on the hill. So planting plan shows that there's plenty of room to plant those 12 trees, but that's all the room there is.
Okay. The owner, I think I heard him offer additional trees in replace of the removal of what are now stumps. But is there any, based on they may feel differently, but based on your assessment, is there room for additional mitigation trees?
If there was room and he had offered that, we would have taken him up on the offer and we would have had trees planted for the other ones, but he didn't remove them, and there isn't room to replant any of those as far as mitigated for the stumps.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Davis?
So in terms of the available space, in terms of the house, I understand it's a narrow lot, and
Yes.
that they have, I guess, built out what could be potentially built out and there are no other alternatives in terms of the client, right? The constituent, who is the homeowner, the potential homeowner. There is no other alternative that he has in terms of the construction of the home, correct?
Well, I'm not a architect. As far as the way it's being built, and it's on a very steep hill, and we do need to remember there are 4 other trees that are being retained on this property as well. There's 4 protected trees that are going to stay on the property, plus there would be replanting 12 more.
And so you're removing 3 trees?
That's correct.
And the total trees on the lot is how many?
There are 7 protected trees on the lot, and there are 6 stumps.
And are those 3 trees in the front of the property of the lot, or are they in the back?
There's, I'd have to look at it again, but I believe 2 of them are near the front and or they might be the back. I actually didn't go to the property, so I'm looking at photos. And let me find my other map here. So they're basically right in the center of the property to right where they're going to be needing to dig down for the basement and whatnot. You can see it on the plan right here.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, these are the 3.
So the ones that have the big red circle around them, they're much larger on the plan than they actually are. They're not very large trees.
I see. So there are 2 on the back area identified, and then this is another tree.
It's trees numbered.
I was really asking because I know that they have mentioned the habitat in the area and that this is a wildlife corridor that extends from Griffith Park all the way to the ocean. And so, in fact, say, for example, we have the aisles. So these 3 trees are the only ones that are being removed, and there are still some other trees on the lot, right?
That's correct.
To which aisles could habitat.
Correct. There's 4 mature trees that will be being retained on the lot.
Okay.
That are protected species.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that on the lot, it would not be a barren lot, if you will, if we remove those 3 trees, and that particularly on that lot, if we had habitat, I'm only saying aisles because they were mentioned, that there would be places in which these wildlife could dwell, if you will, on that lot.
Absolutely. There's bird nesting availability in the larger trees that'll be remaining and those kind of things.
Well, here's my other question. Have we had an opportunity for communications between both parties? Have the homeowners had an opportunity to discuss and go over from their perspective? I'm very clear that the neighborhood association has values that they care about, certainly wildlife and the environment, and I think we all share that. And at the same time, you do have a neighborhood where people come in and build homes because homes are already in the village that's there. But I think communication is clear here. I'm not sure that the homeowner has had an opportunity to explain and have some dialogue and exchange with the leaders within the homeowners association. Have they not had a chance to talk to each other? They've not.
I do not know the answer.
I think that's critically important. I'm hearing or seeing a gesture that they have not. I think that's critically important to at least have the conversation. We want to have mutual respect for each other on both sides of the table. We certainly, the environment is critically important, and yet at the same time, legally, we have to respect the fact that people who seek to be our neighbors have purchased property, and it would be my hope that they too would be considerate of the values of the community. But without them having spoken to each other, I don't see how we could move forward in a very reasonable way without that happening. So I don't know, Mr. President, what you think. I'd love to have them have some conversation with each other about it. I mean, as has been explained to me just recently, the 3 trees that have been proposed to be removed are not the only trees on the property, where in fact there are remaining trees where habitat can dwell, according to what I'm hearing from our representative. But what concerns me as a board member is that there's not been any communication with the homeowner and the leaders of the homeowners association.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner, I'll explain my point in a minute, or my thoughts on that in a minute. I think this case differs from other cases where we grant these continuances for communications, and I'll explain that in a minute. Commissioner Cinto's light was on before mine. Commissioner Cinto.
Thank you, President James. Tim, you know, the notification of the tree removal process, is that happen after, or was that done in terms of the constituents stating that they just learned about it last night?
Yeah, I don't know how they would have just heard about it last night. I don't know that from them. But we did notify the council office, and here's a copy of the notification that went there. And in fact, it was sent on January 11th.
Are there any other additional notifications that the Bureau needs to?
Yes, normally we CFAC and that would be it, but they may have sent it to CFAC, but I don't have a record of that here.
So notification to CFAC is in question, but we did in fact send it to the council office.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. With all due respect, on the issue of just learning about things the night before, let me ask the property owner before I get to this point. Sir, how long have you been involved in the entitlement process, for lack of a better term, on this piece of property?
Oh, for this piece of property, we submitted plans to Building and Safety a year ago, December. I think it was December 31st or 30th. The property was posted right out front, and the posting, it's been there even through the rains, was posted immediately by Building and Safety.
Okay.
For development.
So the property was posted in Building and Safety as of when?
I would say they probably posted it. That was a time period where there was a lot of submittals at the end of the year. I think we had about a 3-month plan check from my memory. So sometime probably in March is a guess, is my best guesstimate of last year.
Okay.
So about 12 months.
So March of last year, roughly. So you've been in the process for there about a year.
Yes.
Okay. And this is the home you indicated that you and your wife are going to reside in?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Thank you. Those are all the questions I have at this time.
Sure. Thank you. And
so,
I do want to apologize that my wife isn't here because we have a newborn at home. So otherwise,
understood. You're here. You're able to speak for yourself quite well. There are a couple of things that I think distinguish this case. One, I am rarely persuaded, although sometimes persuaded, by folks that come in and tell us that they only learned about it the night before. But sometimes that does persuade me, but it doesn't persuade me, with all due respect, when it's a planning and land use head from a neighborhood council. The neighborhood councils are familiar with the processes in the city better than other community members are, as well as our own agendas that are posted pursuant to the Brown Act. I'm also aware that the Benedict Canyon Association and the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council are very aware of our procedures and processes here, particularly when it comes to tree removal, because they're here regularly. Representatives in various forms on various projects throughout the boundaries of the Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council. In addition to that, we work very hard on this board to accommodate constituents that come in with objections to tree removals, particularly and most often where we have protected trees involved. So much that I've expressed publicly, and I'm going to do it again, frustration in the fact that our board is being asked in many ways along these processes to act as a planning commission. We're not the Area Planning Commission. Commissioner Garcia, you've been on an area planning commission, and that's not what this board is. We're the Board of Public Works. And our general counsel and Mr. Jordan and I have gone back and forth on whether or not these issues should even be in this board at this time. But they are under the protective tree ordinance, and because of that, I think we have an extraordinary record, if I don't say so myself, over the last 4.5 years of providing an incredible forum for the communities across the city to have these issues vetted. And I think that our stats are more than 90%, that we end up, certainly more than 80%, which is pretty remarkable, but they may be close to 90%, where we end up with agreements between the community and property owners at the end of what can be a long, drawn-out process. Here is what I see, and to that end, we regularly grant continuances, sometimes multiple continuances, over and over again to get to that point. And Commissioner Davis hinted to that in his initial statements. Here is why I think this case differs. In this instance, we have Mr. Tyson, could I have you to the microphone? We have a lot, and I'm going to kind of lead you through this, but I want you to confirm these things. We have a lot that is roughly 4,000 some odd square feet, 4,009 square feet, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And we have a house on the lot that is going to have a footprint of roughly 1,500 square feet. Granted, the house is going to be larger than that because it's going to be a basement and 2 stories, correct?
That is correct. That is correct, President James.
Okay. That footprint there's also been testimony from the owner that this is the only vacant lot in the immediate area. Is that consistent with what you understand?
I would, from my understanding, yes.
Okay. So when we have had success in prior instances where we have sent the parties back for negotiation, oftentimes we have a lot where it is either, and most often, the lots are larger, but the homes are significantly larger. And the home designs are such that you can redesign them around protected trees. Or we have an instance where they are putting in a pool or something like that. There's no pool going in here, is there? Okay. Yes.
Because the slope is steep, and I can speak as a civil engineer, you have to have the slope set back to the structure. And so we're at the minimum of what's required, 15 feet for our slope setback. So there's a retaining wall in the back. So you got the basement, then the first floor, the second floor. The floors themselves are very small. It's like, I think, 600 square feet is the floor pit. Then with the retaining wall, we are putting in a mini tiny pool, which is like 5 feet wide or something to that effect, 8 feet wide. I don't remember the exact size of the pool, and it goes along the back of the house. But with or without that pool, you still have to do the grading to construct the retaining wall. So there is really no way to mitigate. And just to add, I've been involved with many large houses where I advocate to my clients to move the houses, to protect the trees. In this case, we don't have that luxury. When we build on the house, we have to do the grading to provide the foundations, which is good. Any size house, no matter what, even if we reduce the house footprint, it's going to knock out those particular trees. But everything else will still be safe. So.
Understood, and so thank you, sir.
Sure.
Point being, on the pool that I didn't see here when I looked at this, the pool is so small that you wouldn't necessarily see it. So I appreciate and you can have a seat, sir. I appreciate that point, but it doesn't appear that the pool affects any of the trees that we're talking about. Is that correct, Mr. Tyson?
Correct.
Okay, that's correct?
That's correct. The 3 trees that need to be removed are basically right next to or inside where the basement would be being done.
I don't see in this instance that we have the room for redesign that we have had on the other projects where we're looking at a larger lot or a much larger home. And when I say larger homes, some of them we looked at have been 20,000 square feet.
I agree with that.
This is not that.
No.
In addition, we are talking about 3 trees where there is room for mitigation. Because of that, I am inclined to make a motion that we grant the tree removal permit as proposed by the Bureau of Street Services. Commissioner Penning.
I just kind of wanted to echo some of what you had offered up, Mr. President. I think it's the challenge that we have is unique because we're sort of at the end of the process, trying to determine whether this is a reasonable amount of trees to be removed. We end up asking a lot of questions that are really design-oriented that should be, asked and documented at a much early stage in the project. I think for us, it's very important to understand that the project has been designed in such a way to minimize the impact on the native trees that we're permitting for removal. To me, given the size of the lot and the structure we're considering today, is different than some of what we've been seeing as far as some of the hillside developments. So I think I'm on the same page as you.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. I would just add one point I neglected to make. The competing interest here that, and the reason that I don't want to open up any more than it's already been opened up, the property was posted roughly a year ago by the Building and Safety Department, is that we also, and sometimes we might get perilously close. I don't want to make our general counsel nervous over there, but sometimes we get perilously close to people's property rights. I mean, these property owners, they own this property. And when you own that property, you have property rights. I'm willing to get closer to those boundaries when there's an opportunity for communication between the parties that can change something. I don't see that opportunity here, and that's why I think that there is the potential to get closer to those property rights than I want to do. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. I feel comfortable moving forward with the mitigation plan that will be the 4-to-1 replacement. Tim, I would ask that our Bureau obviously monitor that and ensure that commitment is realized.
All the trees are bonded, and they have to come back after 3 years to us in order to get their bond back, and we go back out and re-inspect. That's all laid out in the board report.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Davis.
I think at the end of the day, again, in terms of the property rights, I think that's a very sensitive and yet real issue. There is no other lot to be owned by this particular constituent. This is the lot that he owns. Unfortunately, the communication with the community is here at the board. But again, I know that the community will welcome their new neighbor. It seems to me, as a member of the board, that there are no other alternatives with regard to constructing the house other than to remove those particular trees. There are only so many trees on the lot. And yet, our concern about the environment and the habitat is such that there are other trees that will remain on the lot that, in fact, the habitat will still be able to dwell and to live and use those trees. And oftentimes, we have circumstances where trees will die and fall in the forest, and those things happen and habitat adjusts. And so as we think about life and as we think about the duration of the life of the environment as well, sometimes the removal is not simply construction, that it happens that they get removed for other reasons and habitat adjusts. So, the bottom line is we do have to equally respect and accommodate our neighbor, not to the expense of the habitat and wildlife. But in this case, I think there is no other alternative. So again, I am supporting the motion and seconding it because I think we need to move forward. having realized all the facts that have been laid on the table.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Davis. So that's the motion seconded by Commissioners Davis and Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, that will be the order. Any issue sending it forthwith? We will send it forthwith. Thank you, sir. Thank you all for your participation today and for taking the time to come out. And I wanted to make as complete a record as we could, justifying the reason that we acted today in the way that we did, given the fact that we hear a lot of these and we have extensive ongoing hearings regularly, particularly in this community regarding these protected trees. And we work hard to work with the community in that respect. So thank you. That'll be the order on agenda item number 2. Agenda item number 3, Council District 13, project advertisement, emergency sewer repair, North Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation, Unit 18, Colorado Boulevard to Doran Street project. Recommending that the board find the ESR NOS Rehab, that's the North Outfall Sewer Rehab Unit 18, Colorado Boulevard to Doran Street project, an urgent necessity, and authorize a construction budget of $23 million, including contingency for the ESR, the emergency sewer repair work. And secondly, authorize the city engineer to advertise to award the project off of the emergency on-call list for sewer and storm drain repairs in compliance with established procedures. Mr. Irving.
Thank you. Good morning, President James, Commissioners, and the Board of Public Works. As President James mentioned, my name is Doug Irvin. I'm with the City of Los Angeles Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division Group. I'm here requesting the Board of Public Works to authorize to advertise the emergency sewer repair project, North Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation Unit 18, Colorado Boulevard to Duran project. A little background on this particular project. This project started out as a design as part of the Bureau of Sanitation and Bureau of Engineering's rehabilitation of major sewers. In around June of 2017, Bureau of Sanitation came to the Board of Public Works requesting for a conditional assessment task order so they could videotape these large sewer lines for potential damages or repairs in need of the sewers. While engineering was working on the Unit 18 project, sanitation videotaped the sewers, and we found that there was a portion of the sewer line that was in need of repair, emergency repair. We therefore then took the project and split it up into an emergency repair and a non-emergency repair. The non-emergency repair was the northern portion, and the emergency was the southern portion. The southern portion, as we were designing it, had problems because we had real estate issues. And so when we go without emergency, we could be taking care of some of these emergency property issues quicker. As we were moving along with the non-emergency project, we went to the board to advertise that project, got the approval from the board, put the project out with addendums changing the project from the full limit to just the northern half. We received bids on that project. In the meantime, on the emergency, we worked on the emergency set of plans and sent out to our list of emergency contractors for them to give us cost proposals. We received 4 cost proposals on the emergency. In each one of those 4 cost proposals, the contractors recommended that they have full bypass of the sewer line so they could make the repair of the sewer. That recommendation was reviewed by staff, and we agreed with that proposal, and therefore we went with the construction of a bypass system. This construction of the bypass system will then impact the upstream or the non-emergency project. What I mean by that is the flow in the sewer line gets backed up, and the contractor would not be able to perform his work while that sewer is backed up. Therefore, in December of 2017, we put a board motion together, and the board approved that we reject the bids on the non-emergency work. We also combined the project now into a full emergency project. And so with here, we're requesting to advertise that emergency project. In addition, as part of the board report, we got approval from our commissioner to go forth with this, and we have put together our cost estimate. We received 2 proposals from emergency on-call contractors. We have received these 2 bids, and they are higher than the city engineer's estimate.
I'm sorry, by what percentage?
The lower bid was by roughly 0.9% or 1%.
Very small.
Very small. And the second bidder was 6%.
Okay.
Okay. So we received both of these bids. As part of this information on the projects is when the emergency on-call sewer list was established, part of the procedures went to the board and also to the council. The mayor's office of economic development requested that this emergency on-call list be exempted from the business inclusion program, because this is emergency work. We needed to get contractors out there. Okay? So in a nutshell, I'm here requesting that the board grant the authority and issue this forthwith, so then we could have our construction group issue a construction order to the low bid contractor so we can get out there and mobilize on it.
Thank you, sir, for the explanation. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Doug, good job about sort of the narrative of how it's evolved. I'm going to ask you a question regarding, it's important that the public understand the due diligence and the discernment and the planning process about how we do things, because we're spending tax dollars. And I want to ask you a question regarding if we had stayed with the north and south portion and we had done those independently, would that have been more money and more time as compared to combining the two?
Since we were looking at the non-emergency project and the impact on that potential contract, the first order of business would have been a change order to the contractor saying, okay, we're impacting you. We're going to be delaying your project, so we're going to have to give you some time and money for that. Okay? So that could add up into the total contract. Okay. However, as an emergency contract, there's the contractor's time and effort and prevailing wages, or the wages that are set forth, and so those costs may still outweigh if we would have done that. But this way we have a contractor who's out there doing the emergency, who now has the whole entire project instead of having 2 separate contractors working on the site.
Thank you, Doug. So that rationale was compelling enough for us to combine in order to do the bypass all at once and to use one contractor. I understand that. And the fact that it has a project labor agreement as vis-a-vis without a business inclusion program waiver exemption is I think is fine, because a lot of the work will be done by local individuals, and our PLA program is really important, and it gets a lot of people a lot of work locally. So I do support this. Thanks again for that sort of, because these sometimes are circuitous, and the plans that we have are not the ones that we stay with because of conditions change, and I think that it is compelling that the voids in the top of the north outfall sewer were compelling enough for us to take a different type of course of action. So, thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
I support this, and I do, though, however, want to just briefly say that I have a vision that one day this on-call list will be one in which, because we know that we plan for the on-call list, that one day we might be able to have an on-call list that includes some minorities on it. And that, in fact, in the future, maybe one day in my vision, we will be able to retrieve from the on-call list somebody that is a minority. So I feel that this is a great opportunity for me to share my vision with you. We've been able to realize labor agreements, and in my vision, we'll be able to realize minority businesses because it's a magna cognitive experience to have the on-call lists in the first place. It is something that we think about. We think about thinking about who we're going to have, and we do it far in advance. So it is my vision that in the future, metacognitively, we will include minorities on the on-call list, and we will be able to not get an excuse in the future because we would have included those in our future planning. So that's just a vision I have, and again, I support this motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Let me just ask, just food for thought. When we have an on-call list, Doug, like this, and we recognize and understand their necessity and the emergency nature of the work. So I actually have another question regarding the budget and the estimate, but I'll get to that in a minute. Commissioner Davis sparked an inquiry in my mind. Are there subcontractors that, and this is just my own ignorance in various aspects of, due to lack of long-time experience in the area, of the kind of the way all this stuff works on emergency contracts. Are there kind of for lack of a better term, emergency subcontractors that the primes have kind of at the ready? And I realize I'm asking you to infiltrate kind of their business process, but with the experience that you all have, because if we have emergency contractors, I'm thinking that the contractors that prepare themselves for emergency work, they might have subcontractors that are emergency people that they go to. And to Commissioner Davis's point, we're thinking about the emergency contractors. They can be thinking about the emergency subcontractors, and then you can get to some of the inclusion numbers that we, as a board, that we follow under the leadership of all four of my colleagues here, would like to see. Do you know if I'm?
I am not familiar with that process. However, I am aware that on emergency contracts with our group, we do have our prime contractors, that list. And I know that there are some subcontractors that these contractors will use. For instance, for the bypass operation, okay, there is a subcontractor that has established their work and have provided their services to these subcontractors in emergency situations.
And Commissioner Davis, we might even be hitting some of these numbers and don't know it, which would be interesting to kind of find out even in the aftermath of some of these projects. Thank you, Commissioner Penny.
My guess is that we're probably not doing very well because what we've seen on sewer repair is that it's an area that really there is not a lot of diversity when it comes to the companies that are either primes or that are subs. And it's something I've talked with engineering about. It's very steady work that we're always going to be doing. I think it's an area for us to focus on actually, okay, if there aren't companies doing, the 3 or 4 types of activities that go into repairing a sewer, which are very specialized, then how do we attract some of those companies into that area and say, hey, you're doing something similar, you're woman-owned, you're an MBE or whatever, why don't you think about, taking this on, learning these skills? I don't have the bandwidth right now, but it's an important project for someone. Yeah. Yeah.
Commissioner Davis on the right track there. Thank you, and both of you, thank you. So with that, I do have, let me go back to my original question that I forgot to ask. Regarding the $23 million, I know that we're very, very close, as you indicated, to this. The bids from our on-call folks are very close to the city estimate. That leads me to the conclusion, but I just want the oral record to reflect it, that the Bureau is comfortable with the bid amount that we're putting out on this contract, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
For the record, the city engineer's estimate, where was that? Was $20,625,850.
Okay. Understood. So Commissioner Cento has, thank you, sir. Commissioner Cento has made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We will send number 3 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Mr. Kunesh, good to see you. Let's go to agenda item number 4. And I'm about to see you on number 4. I thought you were just here having to do maybe with number 3. Construction order Davies Way bulkhead, recommending that the board first authorize the execution of the construction order for the project to John S. Meek Company in the amount of $686,230 with a not-to-exceed limit of $758,250, including contingency.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. My name is Craig Kunesh. I am an engineering geologist with the Bureau of Engineering, and I'm also the project engineer for this particular project. This project provides for the emergency repair of a portion of Q Drive, which is located approximately 3/10 of a mile from the intersection of Laurel Canyon Boulevard and Lookout Mountain Road in the Hollywood Hills.
Okay, hang on a minute. Sorry, Craig. Ted, we ought to get, can you give us the exact location? I don't want to be within 500 feet of it.
The address is 2044 Davies Way.
2044 what? Davies
Way.
Can you look and see, Ted, how far away I am on that?
It's off of Stanley Hills.
Yeah, Ted, let me send you my address real quick. It's a wall, but I can't vote. I have to recuse any, I'm 500 feet away from it. And it's weird up there in the hills.
Okay. I will check on my phone.
Go ahead, Mr. Kunesh.
Okay. Like
While
I said,
Mr. Jordan checks on our.
like I said, this site's located about 3/10 of a mile from the intersection of Lookout Mountain and Laurel Canyon Road in the Hollywood Hills and within Council District Number 4. At the site, Davies Way and Q Drive intersect at a hairpin curve. The upper street, which is Q Drive, consists of a very narrow residential street that has been constructed across a relatively steep northwest-facing slope. Erosion occurring on the downslope side of the road has reduced Q Drive to an unsafe width, especially for oversized vehicles. This project will consist of constructing an approximately 110-foot long pile-supported bulkhead on the upslope side of Davies Way, and it will be constructed of steel I-beams and precast concrete panels, which will be textured and colored to resemble stacked flagstone, and the steel I-beams will be painted to match the fake flagstone appearance. Once when the wall is constructed, engineering fill will be placed behind the wall, which will result in a relatively level area between the wall in the upper street. And after that's done, a portion of Q Drive will be repaved. A metal beam guardrail will be installed, and a asphalt concrete berm will be placed to prevent stormwater runoff from flowing against the bulkhead. In order to construct this project, 3 non-protected trees will be removed from the slope, and it's also going to be funded by a combination of general fund, special gas tax, and Measure M funding. Any questions?
You said the gas tax, and what were the other mechanisms of funding?
Yes, the council motion that was presented originally showed Measure M and general funds, but I found out in the last week accounting pulled a switcheroo and pulled some of the money out of the general fund and replaced it with special gas tax, and that amount was $42,000. But the funding amount is remaining the same. It's just the sources have been modified.
Thank you, Mr. Kunish. Mr. Jordan, do you want to?
If we could just have a couple minutes, we're going to verify on using the ZMIS system, the distance from the location. And for purposes of what I'm doing is I'm using the address 2044 Davies Way, which is what's mentioned in the motion.
Yes.
And I'll check that with the distance from your address.
Okay.
I'm checking that
we'll
right
just
now.
take a couple minutes recess on this.
You can also use Navigate LA. It has a measuring tool on it. Navigate LA?
We're going to use one system or the other and figure out.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What street do you live on? If you don't mind me asking. It's in the area? Okay. I'm somewhat familiar, so I know the streets. This is off of Lookout Mountain. And Kirkwood is further to the south.
Mr. President, what you could do is you can table this item, and then we can continue with the oral report on item number 5, if you'd like, while we look up the distance.
Let's do that. Let's table this item and go to an oral report on number 5.
Thank you.
And then get the results and figure out if I'm more than 500 feet away. Monthly, so we'll table the issue on number 4 and come back to it in a minute. Monthly status of contracts expiring within 90 days, Bureau of Sanitation.
Nothing to report.
Good morning. Good morning to all. My name is Felicia Ansley. I'll be presenting for sanitation. We have 3 contracts expiring within the next 120 days. 1 will be renewed, 2 will not. The one that will be renewed is with Myron Electric Construction Corporation, contract number 123701. That's for specialized high voltage services at the water reclamation plants. We are going to exercise the second of 3 one-year renewal options, and that board report is currently under Bureau of Contract Administration review. The 2 that will not be renewed, the first one is USA Waste of California, contract number 113188 for implementation of a multifamily residential recycling program that will no longer be needed, of course, because the Recicla franchise hauler assumed those services. The second one is with Ballard Marine Construction, contract number 118946. That is for the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant outfalls inspection and ocean diving services. That will not be renewed because the Bureau went out to request for proposals for those services last year, and so a brand-new contract will be executed with the selected proposer. And so the board report and contract are currently under LASAN executive review. So that contract, the current contract will lapse, or we'll let that expire. And that concludes my report for sanitation.
Real quick question regarding the contract that will be renewed.
Yes.
We're exercising the second one-year option. So how many more one-year options are there?
One more.
Okay, so we have 3 one-year option
Yes.
possibilities.
So
okay.
Yes.
Would it, based on your knowledge of the contract, is it fair to anticipate that the Bureau's intent will be to exercise the third option?
The third. That's my understanding. I can double check with the project manager, but I would assume so.
Okay, and then once that option is expired, will then sanitation go back to the market?
I will have to get back to you on that.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
You don't. What you could do is just in the next quarterly report.
Okay.
You could let me know because
Okay.
we have some time obviously on that.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So if you could add that on the next quarterly report regarding Myron Electric Construction Corporation.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on sanitation? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And have a good weekend. That's our only, it's Wednesday, so I was thinking today was Friday. You can have a good week before the weekend. I think that's all we have for sanitation. And that's the only report that we have today on the contracts that are expiring within 90 days. So we'll go back to number 4 in just a moment, as I understand we're still looking engineering. Yeah.
So just, we're having a little technical issues. We're using Navigate LA. Craig is very confident that you're farther away than 500 feet.
Okay.
If you want, we can, I'm comfortable with that,
Okay.
proceeding.
I'd like to have just Mr. Kunish just make the record, and Ted, you can confirm it, and then we'll proceed.
Yeah, otherwise, if you want to get an exact number, we could maybe do that on Friday. But either way.
Mr. Kunish, your thoughts on it?
I'm willing to bet money that it's farther than 500 feet.
Okay, so let me ask this question, though, for my own, I just want to make the record so that I'm covered here. You're confident that my residence is more than 500 feet based on what you've seen?
Yes.
Okay, and end of your knowledge of the area?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Jordan, you're comfortable with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, then we can proceed on number 4. And then we'll get the exact number, and Mr. Jordan can provide it to me on Friday, just out of curiosity now that I've piqued everyone's interest. And so we'll just let Mr. Kunish go back around. Thank you for your work on that. Go back around to the microphone. I was just following Commissioner Jacinto's lead on just being cautious on on an item a couple of weeks ago.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because I have another project that will probably impact you.
Okay, well then now we know ahead of time.
Now I know ahead of
Okay.
time, and I will be able to provide that.
Okay, so you can just tell me ahead of time, and I'll fill out the recusal papers. But go ahead, sir.
Certainly will. I finished.
So we have a question from Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James.
On number 4.
Yes. Craig, just wanted to confirm that what you passed out is a model, a sample of
Yes,
existing?
yes. Both of those are prior projects that the Bureau of Engineering constructed in the past, and the appearance of this wall will look virtually identical to
Excellent.
those.
You know, I have to say that for bulkheads, this is pretty nice in terms of aesthetically, the faux sandstone. I mean, the fact that you could landscape, actually after 2 years, you can grow vines and green on it too. So I think it's visually pretty nice.
Yeah, well, normally we don't use what we call these architectural panels because they cost, at least 25% more than a standard, precast concrete panel. But this wall is going in front of a residence, and this road is only like 13 feet wide, and I thought it would be a little stark if we built just a plain concrete wall in front of their house. So this should hopefully minimize the impact of the wall visually.
Great. Thank you, Craig.
And it will also aesthetically blend in with the area.
And Mr. Kunish, if I recall correctly, there was an inquiry made by maybe the Laurel Canyon Association or one of their representatives to the council office, and I think that the Bureau responded to those inquiries.
I received an inquiry from the council office.
Okay, then that's probably the result
regarding they were just became aware of the project, and they want to meet me out in the field to go over the details of the project.
And that happened?
It has not happened yet. I'm waiting to hear back from the council office as far as when that meeting can occur.
Okay. I'm aware, I know that the community, the Laurel Canyon Association representative was aware of today's hearing because I was copied on the email, and they're not here to voice any objection one way or the other, and they certainly know how to find us. Thank you for taking the time to meet with the council office on that.
Oh, no problem.
Anything further? Okay, Commissioner Sintos made a motion on agenda item number 4. Is there a second? By Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Any issues sending number 4 forthwith? Would it be prudent, Ted, to not send 4 forthwith?
I think we can send it forthwith.
We can? Okay, then
Yes.
we'll send number 4 forthwith. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
You bet. So, Dr. Campos, does that clear the desk?
Yes, it does.
Okay, then we are adjourned, everyone. Have a nice Wednesday.